Yo, what up? How's it going? And welcome back for another video. In today's video, we'll be doing a patch rundown for patch 12.2 of Set 6 TFT. Now, they don't have the official notes posted yet because it is a day delayed because of the holiday. So I will be doing this rundown on Mortdog's video. If you prefer to just watch Mortdog's video and just hear what the devs have to say about the patch, please go watch them. You can do that. If you want to hear a perspective from a high-level player, someone who's been playing the game a lot, then that's what you're here for. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're just going to go through all the changes, and then I'll give you guys my thoughts and some of my predictions on what the meta will be. Now, again, it's very important you understand those are predictions, basically educated guesses when we guess about the meta. But cool. I've been through these patch notes one time. I thought 12.2 I was going to play for fun the entire time. It is the last patch before set 6.5 PBE. Normally, this is the time of year I take a break from playing. I just hit Challenger, and I usually take a break and get ready for my grind for next set, because in the 0.5 sets is really when I try a lot harder. But I actually qualified for the Zon Cup, so I didn't think I was going to qualify. I completely checked out. So this is actually the patch I'll be playing on the Riot tournament. So this patch is very interesting to me. All right, anyways, let's get into it. So this is probably the biggest change on the patch. They say this is a small patch, even though you'll see a lot of changes just because augments make the patch notes longer. This is probably the biggest change on the patch. And so what they're doing is they're lowering legendary odds on level 8 and increasing them on level 9. So basically they just took 1% here and put it onto one cost. Sorry, I got the hiccups. Anyways, burps. Anyways, so they put 1% off here and 1% there. And then on level 9, they just did the opposite, right? They gave 1% here, took 1% here. The one cost odds don't matter at all. They just needed a place to put it to where it makes sense to put it one cost. What this does reduce, and if you've been playing TFT for a long time, you know what a 1% difference can do, especially when it's only 5% total. This will actually impact your games a lot. You may not feel it at first, but over time, you will start to feel that you hit legendaries a lot less often on 8. And so what they're trying to reduce is like people just going fast 8 and not playing the game a little bit more standard, and just going fast 8 on like 4-2 and ending up with a Tahm Kench. If you hit a Tahm Kench on 4-2 and you have any amount of reasonable amount of HP, if you have 50 plus HP, you're guaranteed top 4. If you hit a Tahm Kench, even just a Tahm Kench 1 on like 4-2 or something like that, because you went fast 8, you rolled and you hit. So they're trying to reduce the odds of that happening and kind of create a playstyle in a meta that is a little bit closer to playing standard, which standard is just, you go normal level intervals. You go 6 on 3-2, 7 on 4-1, and then 8 on 4-5 to 5-1, anywhere from there. And you like try to play strong board throughout there. So they're trying to usher in kind of that type of style, and we'll see how it plays out. Maybe this doesn't make a big difference, but usually a 1% difference does feel a bit different. And also they want to increase the use cases where you go 9 and you just don't hit. I mean, most games I go 9, I just don't hit. It's better to roll an 8 usually. Obviously if you have the choice, you roll 9, but going fast 9 is kind of a meme this set right now. Anyways, all right, Bodyguards. This is also one of the biggest changes in the patch is Bodyguard 2 being nerfed. That's the biggest change. Bodyguard 4 being nerfed, cool. I don't know if Bodyguard 4 needs to be nerfed, but Bodyguard 2 being nerfed. And look, they give compensation right here, but the shield doesn't matter. They're intentional about this. They're trying to make it where Bodyguards aren't OP in the early game, especially Poppy. A Poppy 2-star, a Darius 2-star, or a Poppy 2-star with just a Blitz 1. And they're a little bit too tanky for AD carries. That's a big reason why Talon is so good in the early game. I mean, Talon's so good in the early game just because he's so good, but he can actually chew through Bodyguards, whereas like you have like a 2-star Ezreal or a 2-star Twitch or something like that, you can never kill the Bodyguards, right? And so that's why you're better off just playing a Talon 1 most of the time. There's more reasons why Talon is good, but that's really what they're trying to nerf is that. And also in the late game, guys, how many bruisers have you guys seen? If you watch high elo, how many bruisers do you see in the late game? Maybe 1 or 2. Everyone else is playing Bodyguards, unless they're playing like an 8-unit trait or something. Bodyguards are definitely the premier, and they're nerfing the bodyguards too. Like they're nerfing Braum and they're nerfing Scion, who is not a bodyguard, but he fits in with that Scion Braum blitz build. So big nerf to that. Definitely needed a nerf, and I'm excited to see how it feels to play against bodyguards in the early game. Is this gonna be? Does this mean bodyguards will not be good in the early game? No, bodyguards will still be good if you need to use them, but this really opens up the door for bruisers being a little bit better in the early game, which are already good in the early game, and then also to where you know, building a Last Whisper in the early game isn't the correct decision, because Last Whisper is supposed to be an item you build for late game. And you're supposed to be rewarded for building like an Infinity Edge or a Deathblade in the early game. But right now, it just feels like you should always build your late game item first, which feels wrong. Okay, Mercenary. Mercenary is getting a big nerf if you like to play full loss Mercenary. Now, I actually play Mercenary in a very different way than most people. Some people will think it's troll, but it basically just guarantees you top 4. And I'll talk about that in a second. But essentially, they removed Nico's help from 3 and 4 loss. So that is a huge nerf if you like to play full loss, because Mortdog says in the video, and I've seen this in my games, sometimes you'll just have an unbelievable amount of Nikos banked up in your chest. And that if you have 3 Nikos in your chest and you go like an 8 loss, well, you have like 2 2-star legendaries now. And that is a little unfair for the game, because if you cash out one time, you will not lose a round for the rest of the game, which sucks. And then they just lowered the gold average by a little bit. So if you guys like to play full loss legendary or full loss mercenaries, you will feel this. They are doing compensation buffs to the merc units, so it makes it easier to cash out, because the cash outs are not as rewarding. But guys, if you guys play win streak mercs or just strongest board mercs, I actually play that a lot. Some people think I'm trolling, but basically every time I play Gangplank, I play like a Gangplank Misfortune duo carry with a Cogmaw that just kind of links them all together. I've just gotten really comfortable with that playstyle. Pretty much guarantees you top 4 if you win stage 3 and do decent on stage 4. You are guaranteed top 4 if you play that. So that style of playing mercs, if you guys like to play strongest board mercs, got buffed because the units are all getting buffed. But if you like playing full loss mercs, definitely you will feel a difference. You will feel a difference for sure. But mercs are still going to be fun. They're still going to be meta. I am excited to try strongest board mercs because I have had games in Challenger Elo and Challenger Grandmaster Elo where I've played GP carry because I hit an early 2-star GP and I just had him farm me items, and then played a 3-star GP and won the lobby with a 3-star GP. Now I had some high roll situations with like a twin shot heart, and I played 4 twin shot and side carried a Jinx, but still the point stands. I'm excited about playing mercs next patch because I actually already know how to utilize these units as carries. So that's very fun. But yeah, full loss, nerfed a little bit. Cho'Gath getting a big buff. Cho'Gath has felt like kind of like the worst unit. I don't know if Cho'Gath is actually bad or it's just that bodyguards are just so good. So why would you want to play Cho'Gath? And they nerfed, whenever they buffed Colossus a few patches ago, Cho'Gath was actually pretty good, and they buffed Cho'Gath at the same time. And then they had to revert that Colossus buff because it made Scion and Galio too OP. So they're really trying to figure out what to do with Cho'Gath. And they're giving him an extra 5 armor and MR. And then remember, they took armor away from Bodyguard. So this is even more meaningful because you're playing the other tree. And then also they gave 100 damage to his Cho'Gath 1. I mean, how many times have you guys played Cho'Gath and he ults and they have like 30 HP left and you don't get that stack and it just feels really bad. And then he just auto attacks him to death. So it'll make those cases go away, or not be as common, because that is a 100 buff here and a 75 buff on the 2-star. That's actually pretty meaningful. I'm really excited about the 100 buff, 100 damage buff, because that is actually really meaningful in farming stacks in the early game. So interested to see how this goes. If you guys are a Cho'Gath stan or you guys like playing Cho'Gath, give him a try next patch. I don't know how much Cho'Gath I'll be playing. I don't really like playing Cho'Gath. I don't really like playing mutants except for the protector variation. But yeah, guys, give Cho'Gath a try if you really like playing Cho'Gath. And I think we might be going into a more reroll-esque meta coming up very soon. So, but I'll give my thoughts on the end of the video. Gangplank, yeah, Gangplank probably needed a buff. I feel like I'm probably one of the only high ELO players that even looks for Gangplank as a possible end-game carry. So yeah, I feel that he could use a buff at 2-star and a 3-star. Cool. I'm excited to try him as a carry next patch. Okay, Heimerdinger. So Heimerdinger probably needed an attack speed buff. So what they're doing right here is making it to where if you build Sojin, it doesn't feel terrible. Because if you build Sojin on Heimerdinger at 0.6 attack speed, I mean, he just does not do anything. It's basically taking his reliance off of blue buff. Blue buff will still undoubtedly be his best item, but if you have to build Sojin, it won't feel so bad. Damage buff. I don't think Heimerdinger needs a damage buff. When in the best use cases, when he has a blue buff and he has two damage carry items, he feels pretty good for a 3 cost, especially a Yordle. I don't think he needs a damage buff. I'm down with the attack speed buff to make his items more flexible. Because the idea of what they're trying to do is they're trying to make his skill or his floor closer to his ceiling. But for whatever reason, they also raised his ceiling as well. And I don't know why they raised his ceiling, because he feels pretty good when you have the right situation going. So I think Heimerdinger will be pretty good next patch, guys. Especially with some of the other changes. Okay. All right, Braum is getting nerfed. He will still cast his first cast at the same time. It's still 80 mana difference, right? But he will be less likely to cast twice or 3 times. Basically, what they're trying to get rid of is Braum casting 3 times. Does this change Braum's power level? A little bit. Does this mean you shouldn't build Braum whenever you have a bodyguard setup? No, you should build Braum. Braum is a beast. Braum, his best part of Braum is his first cast. Is if you can put Braum right in front of like challengers or right in front of the Urgot, and you can clip Urgot in his ult. So guys, still play Braum. This doesn't change anything about Braum's power level. The only thing I see when I read this is I see that, I mean, Braum's being taken down a little bit, but the only thing I really see is that bruisers are a little bit better as a byproduct of these guys getting nerfed. Let's just do Scion already since they kind of go together. Same idea. He'll still cast it. He'll still get his first cast at the same time. He's just less likely to cast 3 times. I still would imagine if you have items on Scion, he will always cast twice. If you have items on him, unless the enemy carry is just crazy strong and built directly for you. So I think Scion will still be good next patch. But again, if bruisers become meta, and if rerolling is a little bit more mainstream next patch, then it will be then it'll definitely be a Giant Slayer meta. And if it's a Giant Slayer meta, then Scion at 2-star always is in Giant Slayer threshold. So and especially if Cho'Gath's good this patch. So Scion might be a little bit if it's a Giant Slayer meta or a reroll meta, then Scion will be a lot weaker next patch, because people will be building Giant Slayers for the reroll players and the bruiser players. So just be looking out for that. But overall, if there's not a big meta shift, Braum and Scion should feel about the same. Okay, Seraphine's healing is going down. Her damage is not going down. So they buffed her last patch, and that is really her buff, and Chalice buff is what really brought Seraphine into the meta again, because they nerfed Socialite 2, and normally she fits in to hit Socialite 2, and Socialite 2 kind of sucks now. But she was a little bit too strong as a damage and an enchanter like healer with the Chalice changes. So they reverted Chalice and they're nerfing her healing, but she will still do plenty of damage if you want to add her into your comp as a DPS, but they don't want her to heal like an enchanter. And I can get down with that logic, because that if you triple Chalice stack Seraphine 0 items, heals your team for 1k at 2-star. It's kind of nuts. Heals everybody on your team for 1k, everybody she hits. So they're trying to take away her healing, but if you like playing Seraphine as DPS, still should be good. But be careful, because they are nerfing Chalice as well, so the build will look a little bit different if you do like playing Seraphine carry. Probably need like an Archangel instead of Chalice stacking. Cool. All right, Urgot. I don't think Urgot needs to be buffed. I don't think Urgot needed a buff. I just thought Urgot's comp was not as good as Bodyguards. So just naturally Jhin and Fiora, and if you like playing like 4 Challenger Yone, 2 Challenger Yone sucks. Those units were just a little bit better, as well as Urgot's legendaries weren't as good. Like Victor wasn't as good this past patch, and Jinx was not as good. So I think his legendaries weren't very good. And then if you can fit Kai'Sa, then yeah, Kai'Sa's great. I thought his legendaries weren't as good, and his frontline wasn't as good. So I don't know if Urgot needed to be buffed himself, but I can get down with the logic of them buffing his spell AD ratio, so that building items like Deathblade or damage amp items like Infinity Edge feel better, because a lot of people were just building him like Runan's GA Last Whisper, which is a good build, and they want you to be rewarded a little bit more for building actual damage amp. So I'm excited to try Giant Slayer again on Urgot next patch, if it is a reroll meta, and try actually building damage items if bodyguards kind of fall out of favor. But if you're in a bodyguard heavy lobby, you will always have to build Last Whisperer. You cannot kill anything. So just keep that in mind if you're thinking about changing up your Urgot build. If bodyguards are still pretty meta, then you'll still need to have Last Whisper in your build for sure. But I will be trying some Deathblade, some Giant Slayer-esque builds for next patch. We'll see how that goes. Sorry, I got the sniffles this morning. Okay, Tahm Kench is getting nerfed pretty heavily. All right, guys, before I even get into this, Tahm Kench is still going to be good. You hit a Tahm Kench on stage 4. It is still a really good situation in the top 4. But his damage is getting taken on quite a bit. If you get an early Tahm Kench, he's still going to be worth investing into. Just he is going to be a lot weaker. Tahm Kench feels broken for sure, and probably needs a nerf. So his damage is going down by 100 at both of these levels. On the only meaningful levels, and then stat gained is going down by 10%, so it will actually take you a longer time to compensate for this nerf. So this is a really big nerf. He's getting double dipped. I don't know if he needs to be double dipped. I'm down for the 100 base. I don't know if I'm down for the 10% lowering of stats, but you know, we'll see how this works out. I would still buy Tahm Kench on stage 4, and if I'm playing around bruisers or I have a build that it's possible to carry a Tahm Kench, like I'm playing socials, I have good items and I have good health, I would still think about playing Tahm Kench. But situations where he doesn't really fit in my build and you're just thinking like, oh, you know, fuck it, I'll just run Tahm Kench, I would maybe think about not doing it. But in situations where he is good, he's still going to be really good, so still play him. He's also like the funnest unit in the game. So all right, this is a big change. Locket. So Locket shield duration used to be 8 seconds. So if you built Locket, if you Locket stacked, which no one does this set, but this used to be if you guys didn't play in past sets, this was a very degen strategy in certain sets, is you can Locket stack and basically your units are invulnerable for a certain amount of time. So that's why they moved it to 8 seconds forever ago. And now it's going up to 15 seconds. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a build that Locket stacking becomes strong. We'll see if someone figures it out. Now, again, if we are going to be in a reroll meta, I am excited to try this out, especially like reroll protectors. You can honestly go like a chain start, build your Bramble for your Cassidon, and then get extra chains and build Lockets on like Graves or Darius, Graves or Garen, which are units that you don't really itemize in that build anymore. I'd be interested to see if that works out, as well as you can't really use rods in that build in the first place, so it's a good way to get rid of your rods. So I'll be interested to see some reroll builds with Locket stacking and see if that becomes a thing. I'm sure it is meta. I'm sure it will be strong enough to be meta. It's just a matter of whether people will build it or not. So be keeping an eye out for Locket stacking. I hope it doesn't become meta because that is really unfun to play against. And there's really no Voldibear in this set to like break the shields. I know Victor breaks shields, but it takes him a long time to cast. By the time he casts, the shields have probably already diminished. Anyways, all right, cool. So making some adjustments to heart and crest augments. These are they're just trying to get the power level to be even, and so let's look at this stuff. So Bodyguard heart, Leona to Blitzcrank. Honestly, I think Blitzcrank is a better unit than Leona. So, but I do see that this needs to go down because getting 3 gold. I pretty much always take Bodyguard heart or Bodyguard crest in the early game just because the 3 gold. The 3 gold is so valuable, and then sometimes I'll play the Leona. But yeah, I think Blitzcrank is a better unit, so I'm down. I mean, whatever. I can get down with the logic of it being 3 gold versus 2 gold. All right, Protector Heart now grants a Blitzcrank, so you can get Blitzcrank a lot of ways. I'm cool with that. Cool. Okay, Mercenary Heart now grants 1 gold. Very cool. Mercenary Heart, very strong. Fine with that. Not sure it needs that, but they're trying to do compensations for the full loss nerf. But again, I play win streak mercs, so I'm down with anything. All right, Academy Crest now grants a Garen. Cool. Bodyguard Crest is going from Leona to Darius. And they said the reason why they're doing this, and it's not Blitzcrank, is because Bodyguard Crest is stronger. So they wanted a weaker unit with it. I don't know if I'm down with that logic because this is a gold augment. I'd rather have a Blitzcrank here as well, but Blitzcrank would fit into too many spots, so they have to do Darius there. I can see that logic. Clockwork Crest. Apparently, they just didn't have this enabled. It was supposed to be in games, and it just hasn't been. And it grants a zillion, so be looking out for that now. You can get a Clockwork Crest. You get Clockwork Heart, but you couldn't get Clockwork Crest. Okay, Mercenary Crest. Now grants 3 gold. Very strong. If you get this early game, very, very, very strong. 3 gold is a lot of gold in the early game. Mutant Crest now grants a Cassidon. Did it grant a Kog'Maw before? I know Twin Shot grants a Kog'Maw. But that's very cool, especially if you're rerolling. Protector Crest now grants a Garen. Very cool for rerolling protectors. I reroll a lot of protectors. I love playing protectors. It's really fun. I don't know why it's fun, but it's really fun. All right, Socialite Heart now grants 1 gold. Cool. So just be looking out for those changes. Just keep those in mind. Keep that in mind whenever you're looking at your augments. The units have changed. Okay, the LP Accelerator or Metabolic Accelerator has been nerfed. God bless. This was one of the best augments in the game. I actually stopped taking this because I've just noticed I can save more health and have combat strength by taking some other augments. So I don't think it's quite as strong as people make it out to be. But I will say it is the easiest augment in the game to play around. And it feels a little bit unfair because it is so unskilled to use Metabolic Accelerator. Because you can win streak Metabolic Accelerator. I don't think that's correct. But if you win streak Metabolic Accelerator, then you're guaranteed top 4 because your health is going to be so high. Because even when you start losing, you'll be gaining health. So if you win streak with this, you're guaranteed top 4. And if you econ and lose streak, you can play like a 1st or 8th playstyle without feeling like you can ever go 8th. Sometimes you do, but you can really like limit test. And it just feels like way too easy to use. So I'm down with it getting nerfed, but I actually don't think it's as strong as people think, but it is really strong. So now it'll no longer gain HP on PvE rounds. So you will lose 2 HP per stage based off of this. So pretty not huge. This was, if you like taking this, it'll still be good. Okay, grant 1 item reforger as well. Item grab bag 2. God bless, because you could receive 2 of the same item. You could even receive like a Morello or a Sunfire. So yeah, this really needed this because this feels so bad to take. Basically, I only take this if my other 2 augments are completely griefing me. Okay, Shrug It Off, tier 1 or tier 2 to tier 1. God bless. Shrug It Off has been the worst, one of the worst augments all set. Even if the devs say it actually performs pretty decently, guys, just take Shrug. If you think Shrug It Off is good, just take Shrug It Off. You could be playing a 6 bruiser game. Wait, all right. If you're in really low EWO, people will not build healing reduction. But okay, if people have Morellos, which if you play in any high EWO at all, every single player will have a Morello. If they can. If they don't have a Morello, they feel really bad about it. Just take Shrug It Off and just peak the healing you get. You could have a fully stacked Mundo 6 bruiser. He might heal 200 that fight from Shrug It Off. So yeah, definitely needs to go down to tier 1. At tier 1 playing bruisers, it'll probably be pretty good. So look out for that. Wise Spending grants 4 gold as well, so that you can have more gold to roll to try to like match it with the other power levels. Yeah, I don't ever see Wise Spending. I don't think I've had Wise Spending since like the first patch. So I actually don't know this power level, and I don't see it that often. But I mean, getting this early game or getting this like mid game when you're rerolling would feel really nice. But when you have to take it to level with everybody else, it is a little bit harder to level and roll at the same time to maximize the value. So they're trying to give you 4 gold to help you maximize. But honestly, I think I haven't had Wise Spending in like 2 months. All right, High Roller now also grants 4 gold. This is the help with, have you guys ever, so the best way to use High Roller is if you get this at the very beginning of the game, and this is a prismatic. If you get this at the very beginning of the game and you use it on like a Camille or an Alawi, it guarantees a 3-star, but you don't have enough gold to buy the units. So you have to keep locking each round. It's if you don't get a gold opener, it's very frustrating. So they're trying to help with that situation. So I'm down with that. Cool. High Roller is pretty good. Especially if you get this late game as well, having the extra 4 gold helps. I do not like taking High Roller late game, but especially helps a lot in early game for making sure you don't have to lock. And then if you have to take it late game, getting extra 4 gold feels nice. Okay, Portable Forge is getting bumped down to tier 2 because Portable Forge is just so bad. And then also you're like rolling the dice every time you take it because there's multiple items you can get from it and you don't know which one's going to be good for you. If you get offered Portable Forge in the late game, man, does this feel bad. If you get this offered in the early game and you don't get Gold Collector, man, does that feel bad. So they are changes to tier 2 and they're nerfing all the items. to properly match a tier 2 augment. And also what they said too is people want to take this augment. It just does not feel good. So going down to tier 2 is great. One thing you'll notice on here is they did not nerf Trinity Force, which is on here. And they said the reason why they did that is they want that to be the high roll case. Is if you get a Trinity Force in your shop, they want you to think that you're high rolling. They want that to be high roll. So we'll see how that works out. I'm excited that this will be taken more often at a tier 2. At a tier 2, I will consider taking this augment now. But at tier 3, I never considered taking this unless I was forced into it. So bad unless you got gold collector early game or you got exactly the item you needed for late game. But even then, it was not good because you were down a prismatic augment for an item. You know what I mean? Thrill the Hunt 3 is removed from the game. They're removing this from the game because it is a little bit problematic because it... Why did you take this when you can just take Thrill the Hunt 2? You know what I mean? Thrill the Hunt 2 and Thrill the Hunt 3, like, what's the diff? You know, 300 health, like, who cares? That's nothing. I mean, like, if you're playing Jhin and you heal for 600, you know, what do you have, like, 1200 HP total? That's 50% of your HP. I mean, I realize 900 is more, but, like, what's the diff? You know, what is the diff? Not really much. So I don't like taking this one unless I really need healing for my board. But I wish I would have just got it for my tier 2 augment instead. You know what I mean? So I can use prismatic for something better. All right, cool. Sorry, I got the sniffles this morning, guys. Okay, scrap. So they're buffing scrap 4, scrap 2, and scrap 6 are staying the same. I'm not sure that scrap 4 needs to be buffed, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to make the power level from 4 to 6 a little bit closer. There's a huge difference between 4 and 6, like huge. Once you hit 6, if you have 6 scrap on stage 4, you're guaranteed to you're pretty much guaranteed a streak as long as you have decent items built and you have at least some upgraded unit to play around in your scraps. If you have 6 scrap, you're pretty much guaranteed a streak all the way to level 8, all the way to stage 5, unless there's some like random 2-star legendary player in the lobby. So yeah, I'm down with them making the power levels a little bit closer. I'm not sure this needs to be buffed, but I can get down with the idea that the power curve is a little bit like 2 scrap is good, 4 scrap is okay, and then 6 scrap, great. So they're trying to make it a little bit closer. So I'm down with that logic. This Syndicate change right here is they are just nerfing. Basically, all you need to know about this is they just want Syndicate to be not as strong in the early game. Like Darius, Bodyguard with Syndicate is unkillable to AD comps if you don't have a Last Whisper. So this is falls in the same line of the Bodyguards nerf, is they want Last Whisper to not be like the best AD slam in the early game, and it's never supposed to be, because that's supposed to be a late game item. You know what I mean? So they're just trying to fall in line with those changes. And then this is just compensation to make 7 Syndicate feel about the same. But this is a buff to Syndicate because you will get a bonus healing. They also wanted to nerf Shaco's tankiness with this change as well, but I think it's more important the Darius change. Okay, 2 costs. Katarina is getting a 50 health buff because Katarina just doesn't feel that great in terms of like your best carry. Now, if you're a Katarina degen player and you love Katarina, then hey, good for you. And if you think she's already good, then hey, good for you. She's a little bit better. But they gave her a little bit of HP. They didn't want to buff her damage, because if they buffed her damage, she would probably become super meta again. But I could see a world where Katarina is meta next patch, because Shaco's getting brought down. And I think next patch, rerolling will be a little bit better in general. So I could see a world where Katarina becomes pretty meta, but not like she was whenever she was like the degen comp. But if you guys like playing Katarina, give her a try next patch. I think rerolling could be pretty good next patch. Okay, Zyra is getting nerfed at 1-star, nothing at 2-star, and then buffed a little bit 3-star. Basically, what they're trying to do is it's not really worth your gold to upgrade Zyra to a 2-star unless you're going to be playing Zyra the whole game. So they just want to make it to where you get rewarded a little bit better for upgrading, because at 1-star she already feels pretty good. She provides that CC, decent amount of damage. They just want to make a bigger difference between 1 and 2-star so that you don't just like not upgrade her, because they don't like that. And then if you take the risk to upgrade her, she'll feel a little bit better. But 25 damage is that's 25 damage per unit hit, so it could be a little bit more than 25, but that is not worth to like start playing Zyra at 3-star unless you were already playing it. You know what I mean? But yeah, so that's why this is being changed, is so that you're more likely to upgrade her to 2-star. Misfortune is getting buffed. I love playing Misfortune. I'm not sure Misfortune needs a buff. But But again, guys, as I said, we could be going into a reroll meta. If you guys liked playing win streak mercs into rerolling the mercs, I mean, I have a build that I play where I reroll Misfortune and I reroll Gangplank at the same time. Feels pretty good. Again, I played that in Grandmaster EWO when I was on my climb to Challenger, and I won some games playing it. So I am down with these buffs. I don't actually think she's a buff. I just think she had a weird place in this last patch. But I'm down with this. Guys, give Misfortune carry a try next patch. Shaco getting nerfed. God bless. Who likes playing against Shaco? Raise your hand. Yeah, nobody. Nobody likes playing against Shaco. Getting nerfed a little bit, and again, the Syndicate nerf helping Shaco fall in line. If you guys really like playing Shaco, I don't think 5 AD and 5 armor and Amara is going to make a big diff. But I am happy that he's getting brought down a little bit. But if you guys like playing Shaco, then keep playing him. Probably should be okay, especially if we're in a reroll meta. He'll be a little bit less contested if people are rerolling other stuff. So yeah. Vex is just getting nerfed at 1 star. They just said she was a little bit too strong at 1 star. I can get down with that logic. I have had a Vex 1 tank quite a bit in the early game, especially if you want to play 4 Arcanist. So I'm down with that. But if you guys like playing Vex 2 star and 3 star, or just like playing Yordles, she would still be good. I'm surprised Yordles is not getting nerfed. Only Vex. Okay, champion changes. Lux is getting buffed by 0.5 attack speed. I don't think Lux needs to be buffed. But I think they're just trying to make it where Sojin feels a little bit better on her. So if you guys end up building Sojin Lux, she will feel a lot better. I think that's their logic of doing this, is that will feel a little bit better with Sojin. I can get down with that logic, but I think the unit overall feels fine. But I think they're trying to get Blue Buff and Sojin to be a little bit closer together. Blue Buff will absolutely still be the best carry item on her, or best mana generation item on her. But if you end up building Sojin, we'll feel a little bit better. So there we go. Jin is getting nerfed at 3 star because he was just a little bit overperforming versus all the other 3 stars like Fiora and Yone. Yeah, Jin 3 star feels pretty hard to beat unless you just like trick him by either killing him with an assassin or making him point the wrong direction, which is very hard to manipulate. So I'm down with him getting nerfed. That's fine. It's just nerfed at 3 stars, so Jin still great. Orianna getting her shield nerfed a little bit. Orianna is still going to be a great side carry next patch when you're playing her with Jin. But the Chalice stacking meta, I'm not going to say it's dead, but it's definitely not going to be nearly as good. I would venture to say Chalice stacking is still going to be good, and that those buffs that we saw to Chalice and the buffs that we saw to Seraphine and Ori were just buffs that were big enough for us to start playing that type of comp, right? The Soju special, the Enchanter Soju special. I think that was just enough to make us start playing it, and it will actually still be playable next patch. But I will personally not be going for the Chalice stack tech. It definitely will not be nearly as good. But if you like playing that build, I would still give it a try next patch. I bet it will still be playable, and it'll be a lot less contested. Okay, Yone is getting nerfed at 3 star as well. Just his spell duration. I guess it was lasting nearly the whole combat. I'm down with that, I guess. But yeah, you know, it's just 3 star 4 cross. You won't see that too often. Okay, melee Jace has been buffed. So something weird happened. Just all of a sudden, Jace became a backline DPS. It's because they kept buffing his backline and kept nerfing his frontline. So they're just trying to make it where his use cases as a frontliner is a little bit stronger. So yeah, I don't know if this changes much, but you know, be interested to try Jace. If you like playing Jace as a frontliner, he'll be buffed a little bit. Jinx finally getting buffed. Her rocket launcher AD, so her AD part of her spell is getting buffed, which is her auto attacking after she lands. Very excited about this. They've been nerfing Jinx forever, and if you guys follow a lot of high elo players, they've just been kind of shitting on Jinx, like never put items on Jinx, always put them on Urgot, or always save your items for Kai'Sa or something like that. Like, don't play Jinx. I've been playing some Jinx. Jinx does feel okay. She does feel like a legendary, but yeah, it doesn't feel as good as like Kai'Sa or yeah, it just really doesn't feel as good as Kai'Sa with items. So they're trying to make it feel a little bit better with AD items. And as well as, remember guys, they nerfed Bodyguards. So if you end up AD stacking Jinx or an Urgot, and then you sell Urgot for Jinx, she will feel even better. So I would give, if you guys weren't itemizing Jinx last patch, I would give her a try next patch, itemizing her with AD items. But if you guys still just want to give her leftover items and focus on Urgot, that will still be good as well. But I was already playing some Jinx, and she felt pretty good sometimes, but she definitely needed a nerf, or definitely needed a buff to fall in line with other legendaries. Okay, Victor. Dude, I'm scared about a Victor buff. I know it's just 25, but I hate when Victor 1 is like really meta. If you guys catch your mind back to the beginning of this set, you would if you had Sojin and you had an Archangel, you would always play Victor 1 over Lux 2, which feels kind of stupid. Feels kind of silly, right? But they did buff Lux on Sojin, so I just don't want Victor 1 to be better than Lux 2 in every single scenario. I don't know if this change does it, but I mean, Victor did feel a little weak on 2-star for Legendary if you're fully item stacking, like versus like Kaisa. Like Kaisa feels so much better, and they use very similar items. So I'm down with him getting buffed there. I don't know if I'm down with the 1-star buff, but we'll see how it goes. I just don't want Victor 1 to always be better than Lux 2. I hate when that's... Okay, Chalice. They're reverting Chalice because, yeah, I mean, you guys, if you guys played last patch, you should know. You know. But guys, I still think Chalice stacking, if you really liked that meta, I would still give it a try next patch. Seraphine's heal got nerfed. Oriana's shield got nerfed, but Oriana deals a lot of damage in that comp. And then obviously, if you triple Chalice, you are going to be losing, 15% on 3 people. So that's 45% AP total for your comp. That is a lot. So it is a pretty big nerf, but I would venture to say this was already playable. It's just this buff made it to where it was mainstream. So if you like playing that style, give it a try again. But yeah, I will personally not be looking to play that style unless I'm forced into it. Okay, Hand of Justice is getting buffed a little bit. So Hand of Justice being the best item in the game. You guys, if you've only played this set, you've never played a set where Hand of Justice was OP. It is not very healthy for the game because you basically just start Glove or Tier and you build Hand of Justice every game, and you can build infinite of them because then you can just play any carry you want. And it's not very healthy for the game for it to be meta, but this item has felt really shit. So I'm down for it to get buffed. And also, again, if rerolling is strong, you never build this in a reroll comp, unless it's just your best item that you can build. This is a win streak item or a strongest board item. So I'm down with the getting buffed at this time because they're nerfing legendaries, or they're nerfing legendary odds, and rerolling just seems to be a very viable play style. And Hand of Justice is not a very good reroll item, very strongest board-esque item. So if there was any time for Hand of Justice to get buffed, it would probably be right now. So I'm down with that. Okay, Sniper's Nest now has an indicator to show you how many stacks it has. It'll look a lot like the Forgotten indicator from set 5. If you guys played set 5, basically you'll just have little rings around the bottom of your guy so you can know on your snipers, so you can know how many stacks they have, and when you lose the stacks if you accidentally mess it up. Okay, Stand Behind Me now also increases Bodyguard's armor by 25%. So this is a compensation buff for the Bodyguard trait being taken down, as well as this augment was really awkward to run because the more bodyguards you have, the more armor you can give to your teammates. But the more bodyguards that you have, the less value you get from the augment because you already have more bodyguards. So you have less people. You have less people who need the bonus. You know what I mean? So that's why they're trying to give this as a compensation buff, because this augment felt kind of weak, and as well as they nerfed bodyguards. So do I think this augment is good? No. No, the augment sucks, but it is a tier 1. So if you have a game that's good for it, then take it. All right, bug fixes. Do not click on the video if you guys don't watch patch notes a lot. Bug fixes are really important in TFT, so don't click off the video. Okay, Caitlyn's ability no longer hits invulnerable or untargetable targets. If you guys had played any Caitlyn this patch, she could ult the Hex Core. I literally noticed this in my very first game on this patch. She could hit Guardian Angels and other stuff. The Hex Core one wasn't that bad because you could just play, if you put her second Hex on back row, she'll almost never shoot it. But this Guardian Angel nonsense, man, the amount of LP I've lost from Caitlyn not killing in a Guardian Angel. I do play a lot of reroll protectors, so yeah, that very good change. Fiora ability no longer fizzles if her target dies as she begin her cast. I didn't actually see this a lot, and I do play a lot of Fiora, but I did see some other people complaining about it. I probably just didn't notice as much. But yeah, they got hopefully her ability fizzle is gone. They did say in their rundown that fizzles are really hard to get rid of, and so just make sure you clip it and send it to them if you see another fizzle so they can fix it on Fiora's ability. All right, 1-star Locket correctly deals her right amount of magic damage, so she will deal 25 more damage on her 1-star ability. Very cool. It was already supposed to do that. Units that are sold with sniper ammo will no longer retain their 1 bonus range. That's hilarious. But yeah, I don't no longer do that. Dragon's Call no longer triggers against some physical abilities. I don't know what this triggered on, but I did notice it. Kog'Maw is a magic, so it should trigger on Kog'Maws. I think maybe this triggered on Samira. I think one game I played Samira, I noticed this, and I was like, what the hell? Cool. Runan's Hurricane no longer applies Victor's Armor Shred. That's hilarious that it did that, but you never build Runan's on him anyway, so we're chilling. Bug fix, 5 Imperial damage buff on Imperial units is no longer removed during some combats and uncommon situations. They said this was really uncommon, but this should also help Imperials if you like playing Imperials. Fix the issue where crown augments would still appear when players had previously taken built different. Yeah, they tried to remove this, but I guess they didn't get it in there right. But now it'll be fixed. You won't get souls whenever you have built different. A very good change. Zac no longer sometimes targets the same enemy twice with his ability. That's great for Zac being able to multiple CC. And then fixed a rare issue where Zac would deal double damage to one of his targets. I have noticed this. I have noticed Zac doing ungodly damage sometimes to me when I played against a 3-star Zac. I know 3-star Zac deals a lot of damage, but I've had a 3-star Zac, 0 items, full one-shot my carry, 100 to 0, and my carry has like 1500 HP and MR, and I'm like, what? That's because they accidentally did double damage. I've seen that happen. Anyways, all right, guys, that was a long rundown. My video was actually longer than Mort Dogs, but let me give you guys my thoughts on what the meta is going to be. I could see, if you guys like playing Fast 8 into playing around 4 cost and play 4 cost flex, that will still be a viable play style. If you guys like playing to force legendaries, playing legendary lottery on 8, I would probably not do that next patch. Doesn't mean you can't play that play style. You know, if 1-star legendaries are really strong, you could definitely still play that playstyle, and they did buff a lot of 1-star legendaries like Jinx and Victor. I could see that being good, but I will probably not be trying that. If you guys like rerolling 1 cost, 2 cost, and 3 cost, I could see that as a very viable strategy. And if rerolling becomes meta, then guys, it'll be a Giant Slayer meta. And if it's a Giant Slayer meta, then Bodyguards will actually be a little bit stronger, even though they just got nerfed. But I would be looking out for that, for the Chemtech tree, for the Urgot tree. Urgot got buffed, Jinx got buffed. So Urgot got buffed, Jinx got buffed. The Bruiser Augment that was tier 2, shrug it off, got moved down to tier 1. Actually could be a decent tier 1 augment now, especially for early game. What else got changed about that? The Bodyguards got nerfed, so that indirectly buffs bruisers. So yeah, guys, I will be looking out for bruisers. I would be looking out for rerolling, and I would also be looking out and have a little bit of an eye on what was meta last patch might still just be meta. So very interested to see how this shakes up. But yeah, my guesses are we might be going into a reroll meta, and if we're in a reroll meta, then it is a Giant Slayer-esque meta. So I'll be excited to do that. But it'll be interesting to see if we're in a Giant Slayer meta, if that just makes Bodyguards just mainstream again later on in the patch. We'll see how it works. But anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for the video. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I love making patch rundowns. It's probably my favorite video to film each week or every 2 weeks. Very easy and very easy, relaxed, and I love making predictions and stuff. Anyways, that's gonna be it, and I hope you guys have a good night, a good day, and wherever you are, I just hope that you are doing well. All right, see ya, bye.